Good evening. It is Sunday the 8th, 2025. It's Chris Garcia. Why should you donate to the Southeast Academy cause? So, let me give you what I've been doing lately. You may have seen this up on Facebook or you may have gotten the flyer. Southeast Academy is a military police academy that is on Foster Road, right across the street from John Glenn High School. So what's been going on is the district, the board, wants to merge Southeast Academy with John Glenn High School because of the failing efforts of the district to grow the numbers within these schools. For Southeast, if it's given the opportunity and they advertise it, it will grow substantially. But they really don't do any advertising for it. There was a story on one of the news channels recently, one of the local news channels, and the district isn't even the one who set that up. So it's like they really do no effort to do anything good for the school. And I know that may sound harsh, but it's the truth. There was a Measure G bond passed where Southeast should have gotten a good portion of that money to at least give them a track and fix up their campus, but they weren't. They were giving the bare minimum, which all the schools got. And then extra money went to like La Mirada High and some of the others. And a substantial amount of money. And zero of that, beyond the stuff every school got, went to Southeast, which is pretty shameful considering what they're all about. If you see behind me, that is not a Marine Corps picture. That is Southeast High School. They dress either in those camis or in their PD uniforms every single day. Sometimes, if they've earned it, they get to wear their PE clothes. And they love that, shorts and their shirt. But this is what they do. They have high hygiene standards. All right, they got to shave. They got to have their hair a certain way. They shine their boots. They press their camis, ironing them. They do all that stuff. So for myself, a veteran of the Marine Corps, I have 3 sons that go to this school. And when I heard that they wanted to do this, I heard as it happened. Okay, the board voted. They actually did a motion, a late night motion on March 24th. In the middle of the nighttime, they motioned to merge Southeast with John Glenn without giving the public a chance to comment on that and give their opinion on it. In fact, in the prior meeting in March 10th, they discussed about fixing the facilities of Southeast Academy and 2 different options that were available. One option being leave it where they're at, leave Southeast where they're at and fix, put the money in to fix it. And they gave these very inflated numbers of $30+ million to give them what they need, which that's an outrageous number. But regardless of the number, that was one of the options. The second option was to move Southeast Academy to Excelsior High School. And the number to get Excelsior prepped for Southeast was also an inflated number of $60+ million. So that was the 2 options. There was only those 2 options, and then we had public comment on it. I spoke, other parents spoke, a lot of people spoke on it, on those 2 options, and gave their opinion. The majority of them wanted Southeast Academy to go to Excelsior High School on Pioneer and Alondra, which will give it exposure and there's already a track there. They already have a gym there. They have everything there, ready to go. It needs a little bit of touch-ups here and there, roofing, stuff like that. But and it may need a little more than that at Excelsior than where they're currently at. But $60 million, I think that's a very high inflated number. Regardless, those are the 2 options. Those are the ones we actually commented about. There was no other options on the table. Nothing else on the agenda other than those 2 options, which was actually written in the agenda, those two options and how much it would cost. All that was in the agenda. And if you know anything about how it works in these board meetings, they have these agendas and they're supposed to write in the agenda what they're going to be voting on, right? So like this one here is the March 10th. That was the March 10th agenda. We have, this is the one where they ended up doing the vote, March 24th. And then I have the following month, the next board meeting after, April 14th. And it's very significant. I'll give you a quick little rundown of what happened. You could look these up. You could look all of these up on YouTube, the Norwalk La Mirada YouTube channel, and you could watch what happened, okay? So, as I'm going and I'm trying to raise money on a GoFundMe to get lawyers to sue the school board for an illegal vote that they did. They violated what's called the Brown Act. And the Brown Act states that they have to put on the agenda what they're going to be voting on, and they clearly did not do that. What they ended up doing on March 24th in the middle of the night is they did a motion after we had already spoke, right? There was no more public speaking on this, and they were discussing it. And after they had their discussion, one of the board members asked for a motion to merge Southeast Academy with John Glenn. They said, okay, let's take a vote on it. And they voted 4-3 to merge them. And we were like, whoa, wait a minute. That wasn't on the agenda. What are you talking about? We made a lot of noise. There was only about 5 parents there because it was almost midnight. I slammed the chair, my hand on the chair, like, hey, what are you doing? We were trying to talk. They wouldn't let us talk. They wouldn't let us talk about this. It was extremely frustrating. So they voted it, and they ended up ending the meeting, and we were extremely upset. I have been voicing my opinion since. I ended up going and researching what could be done, and one thing that could be done is a letter to cure and correct. So I did that. I ended up writing this letter and sending it to the board members, to the lawyer, and to the superintendent. They had 30 days to respond, and on the 30th day, they responded. The superintendent sent me a letter basically stating they didn't feel they violated. And but she did lie on that letter, stating that they did discuss John Glenn and Southeast merging with John Glenn. They did not discuss it at all. If they discussed it, they discussed it in private, outside of the public view, and they didn't give us a chance to speak on it. So that was a blatant lie in that letter she sent me, unless she just doesn't remember, because maybe she was having discussions, which is also a violation of the Brown Act. So where are we now? Because she responded 2 days ago at 10:50 at night, I received the email on it, and now we're going to go get lawyers, and that's what the GoFundMe is for, to help us get the money to get the lawyer. Now, if we're short, I will take out a loan. I'll do whatever I have to do to make this happen. Why, you might ask? Why is it such a big deal? Because they're two different cultures. I'm going to show you something right now just to give you an idea. So you see right here, this is them performing. They're performing at John Glenn on the one screen here where it says Eagle Pride or whatever that says, or Eagle something. But if you see that, they're performing at John Glenn. The students, there's not even that many students there watching them, because John Glenn doesn't really care much for the Southeast cadets. They have problems with them all the time. They make fun of them just because they're in uniform. They don't understand the culture. I wouldn't expect them to, and this is why you shouldn't have the two together on the same campus. On the right, they're also performing, and they're doing this four-man. Well, I don't know if it's on the right for you, but on one side you have 4 of them going, and on the other side you have the two-man. One of those is actually my son. So it's you could tell this is something different, right? You've seen Marine Corps, silent drill team type stuff. This is kind of the stuff they're doing here. They also do colors. They do 9/11 memorials. They do a lot of things for the veterans. It's just really impressive how they're ran. They're ran by, well, they had been run by two former Marines. And by former, I mean they're still Marines, but they're master sergeants. They served in the Marine Corps. They're no longer enlisted, but they were drill instructors, and they hold these guys to a very high standard. These cadets hold themselves to a very high standard because that's what they've been taught. They're prepped for military. They're prepped for PD. They have criminal justice classes and stuff like that. They have a lot of good classes to help them for any kind of first responder type of stuff, and prep them for those careers. A lot of them go to college. They go off, they go to college, they do well, and it's just really, really impressive, what they do. There's not a day goes by that I'm not impressed. I have juniors, two juniors in the school, and the freshman. This is my son right here, and right here. Let me click back over here. So you can see it's a whole different culture, right? Who goes to school dressed like that? Nobody. Who dresses like that? Military. So you can't have the military in with a regular high school. You can't have an academy with regular high school, right? There's people saying stuff, oh, if you want your kids to play dress up, put them in a military school. Well, genius, this is a military school, and they're in one. They said they're not Marines. No, not yet. Not all of them will be. But they're being taught discipline. They're being taught to believe in themselves. They're being taught to be accountable, unlike our district, who's not accountable for the things they do. They hide a lot of things. They don't want to talk about nothing. Adults can learn a lot from these cadets. And it's just, they're very, very impressive. If you were to have been in these board meetings, you could watch the board meetings. You could watch them and hear them speak. It is impressive when these cadets get in front of that board and speak to them and give their heartfelt reasons as to why they don't want their school merged. And the parents, the cadets, some of them were crying. Parents are crying. Community members are speaking out against it. Nobody wants this merger except for people who aren't invested in it at all, right? They have no children in Southeast or in John Glenn for that matter. Yet they're commenting like, oh, we support the merger. Yeah, why? You're not invested in it. You don't understand. You don't understand what a big deal this is. 60% of these students come from outside the district. Do you think they want their kids going to John Glenn? No. They brought them for Southeast. So, it's a whole different culture. I can't stress that enough, how much of a different culture it is. An amazing culture. And no, it's not for everybody. And that's why you can't mix it in for the people that it's not for. Mixing them together, you don't do that. You just don't do that. So if it's not something you're into, you're not into the military, you don't like police officers, I get it, right? Don't give. But you don't have to shoot it down. You don't even know what you're talking about. You haven't experienced this stuff. So for these cadets, where it means a whole lot to them, if you could give 5, 10, whatever, if you could give more, great. It would help us out a lot. We will be talking to lawyers this week, and we are going to be moving forward. So any help you could give us financially, we really, really appreciate it. And if you come to the board meetings and want to voice your opinion on this, that would be great too. That would be great. Let the board know, hey, we don't like what you're doing. Not to mention, what are they going to do with that campus if they do complete this merger? What's going to happen with that campus there? What do you think is going to happen? You think they're going to open it back up, turn it into elementary again? They're not going to do that. They're going to probably sell it. The state superintendent put a memorandum out basically saying that he wanted to do housing at empty schools, right? Throughout the districts, throughout LA County, throughout all of California. And right now you have the governor suing Norwalk for not putting in housing for the homeless, right? Well, this is a way to kind of get around that, because the Norwalk Council, they can't really do anything because it's not their property. It belongs to the school district, so the school district can do this. Is that what their goal is? I don't know. They don't tell us what the long-term goal is. They don't tell us what they aim to accomplish by merging the two campuses. What is the long-term goal? Is there any campuses that have merged that we see a success story out of? I haven't heard of any. We have multiple schools that have closed down in Norwalk. It's making it seem like this is the city where schools come to die, instead of grow and become, something better. So, we're going to continue this fight. I don't like what the board did. I'm going to recall a board member over this because that's illegal what they did. And, the truth will come out. And no matter how a judge goes and rules on it, because they could rule differently for all kinds of different reasons. They could rule just because, oh, well, you're going to lose the vote anyways. Who knows how they'll end up voting, how the judge will end up ruling. Well, they could rule, yeah, they were in violation, and make them redo it, and then they redo it and end up doing the vote anyways. We're hoping that we buy enough time to make changes on the board and change that vote. So we're asking for your help. Help us get there. Help us out with these kids. Any money that is not used in the legal funds will go to students for their uniforms, because the one thing they do have to pay for is their uniforms. So if we could help them out with that, with whatever's left over, that's where it'll go. If there's any left over, or if we end up getting, a lawyer that'll represent pro bono. If we win the case, the district has to pay for the lawyer fees. So that's the blessing. And in that case, the money will go to Southeast, to these students. So just, again, if you can give, we greatly appreciate it. I am not alone on this. I know I'm the one doing the video. I'm not alone on this. There's a lot of parents who are behind this as well. On June 12th, we will be at the American Legion Post 359. I am a member of. We'll be there approximately 6 p.m. over on Front Street. We'll be having a meeting, give an update to the parents on what's going on and where we're at and what the lawyers are saying, all that stuff. We'll go over all of that. You are welcome to come. It's not a place where we're going to really be debating. So if you're for it, you're for the merger, you could come, but just don't argue with these parents. It means a lot to them. It means a lot to me. So just the one thing I want you to kind of take from this, if you have kids in the district in any of the schools, Norwalk or La Mirada, think about this. This board will not listen to the parents or the kids. And there's a lot of other stuff that's going on in this district that I'm sure a lot of you don't even know about. And I will discuss that on the 12th. And there may be parents there who are dealing with some very interesting things, very interesting topics, some inappropriate things from teachers to students, kids that have disabilities, stuff that's going on there, abuses. There's a lot that's been going on in this district for a while. And the board doesn't seem to learn its lesson when it comes to these issues about, not being transparent about them and not handling them properly. There's a teacher who put hands inappropriately on a child and is still working for the district, still working in the schools. And I'm sure you want to know about that. Very upsetting stuff. And I just want you to think about how important this is. If they can do this, close a school down and ignore all the parents, ignore all the cadets, ignore community members, and do it anyways, and not listen, what's going to happen when it happens at your school? When something happens at your school, whether your child gets hurt or there's bullying going on or safety issues, whatever it might be, and you want to voice your opinion, and it goes in one ear and right out the other with them. This is a way where we stop that and we say, no, you're going to listen to the parents. You work for us. We put you in there, and you're going to do what we say. Okay? I'm all about parents' rights. I'm all about in this case, the cadets, but all of the students being treated properly the right way. I don't like what's going on in this district, and hopefully you see this, you feel the same way, and not only can you support us financially, but start showing up to the board meetings and help us out. We could really use that support. All right, that's all I got. If you could give, God bless you. I appreciate it. If you could share, the link's going to be on here. My son, he's my youngest, my freshman. He's my tech guy, so he's going to put the link on here. It'll probably be floating around on here somewhere. If you can give, we would really, really appreciate it. And again, if you want to come in on June 12th over at the American Legion, happy to have you. Okay, God bless.